I'm going to give this to somebody else because I'm wearing one of these. Here, thank you. So I want to first start off by thanking the team at Decentral. We're a very small operation these days. There's a number of people that have worked with us in the past that are in this room. It's been a company that's had hundreds of employees over the years and hundreds of people participating over the last 10 years to bring forward what it is that we're going to be showing you tonight. But we're a super small team right now, and what Jen had mentioned earlier about crowdsourcing things and doing things, my goal now and what I'm doing is to keep this nice small team but work with communities and work with people globally to fill in things that we need. So it's actually a really small team right now. We've got Riley, we got Mark, we got Adil, Jen, of course, who's just been working nonstop for the last couple of weeks to put everything in here together. We got volunteers that have traveled from out west. We've got so many people that have assisted to put this all together, but it's been a really small, tight group to help do this. We've got Khaled and we've got Addison here who's been with us for years. There's just a number of people, and I want to thank everybody that's participated with us over the last 10 years and helped to bring what we're going to be presenting to fruition. So thank you very much for everybody that's been part of Decentral and that's helped put this together. Thank you for Leo, thank you for Dawn for presenting today, and thank you so much for everybody that came down today. There's some crazy sicknesses going around, and I'm just happy that people came down here because half our team is sick, and one of the reasons we're not going to be doing any after parties today and try to keep our distance is just because it's not COVID, but there's something going around, and a lot of us have had it and have it right now. So. You can switch it up. All right, so it's going to be a little bit different kind of presentation. It's actually a video game that I'm going to be using here, taking through the slide deck. As you can see, I can jump here. All right. So I'm going to start by, and the whole thing will be coming across as a kind of the past, present, and future. So all of the elements that I'm going to be talking about in the past are things that have contributed over the last 25, 30 years in my life, from the computer to modems, all the different elements that are going to be instrumental and were part of what it is we're putting together today. So I want to kind of take a journey starting from the 80s, which is when I first got into computers, and kind of take it through the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and then think about where we are now and where we're going to be heading. So, the dawn of the personal computing age. I was born in 1975. I got my first computer in the early 1980s. It was an IBM PC Junior, which you see on screen right there. And it was probably the most important part of my life, was getting this computer. My dad brought it home. He had worked at IBM. And since then, I've been considered the computer person in the family, and I was building computers very early on, and I was on modems with my dad's cousin, Reno. Where are you? Over there. Reno and I, although he's a number of years older than I am, we were just these computer guys in the 80s, and we were just following the progression of modems, which were enabling people to come together, and they went from these 300 baud things to the 2400s, 40. These are the speeds as things were progressing through the 80s that we were using to connect to people before the internet. So not just building computers, but actually using modems and connecting. And Reno and I would have these talks about where things would be heading into the future. And it was such it was so instrumental in my life. But what personal computers brought to the table was the democratization of computing power and putting it into your home. Ability to do things that you could not do before, with everything being manual processes. And it was a start of a revolution that has led to a lot of the stuff that we are witnessing today with mobile, which I'll get into later. But we saw this rise of people being able to take computing power and put it into their own hands And it was something that I understood very early was going to have a big impact on my life, and something that was going to be and have a very big impact overall. At the same time, it was about in the 80s where gaming consoles also started getting very prevalent, and I remember getting my first Nintendo system. I remember Sega came out there. And what you're going to see later on is how the gaming side of things and gamification and challenges and solving things is how we're going to be wrapping that up together and being part of the product that we're going to be announcing after I go through this back journey here. So gaming has always been something that's big in my life. How do you make and incentivize people to do things? So this is kind of the two things that we're hitting on through the 80s of things that started to arise that have impacted me and that will be impacting, and you'll see how it ties into the project. The 90s. The 90s was a time when I was in university, and I decided not to go for computers because computers was something that's just I had known very well, and my dad is an entrepreneur and was an entrepreneur, and I decided to go to business, and I went to Ryerson, and it was a decision there to kind of learn more about business and things that I can do, because I never really desired to be a developer, but I did desire to work with developers and build things. So the rise of the internet was kind of an extension of the modems that Reno and I would be using to communicate with one computer, and when this came out, we both grasped it quite readily, and I saw where the future was going to be heading, but a little too young in my life to be able to really utilize what was going on with the internet at the time, and I was going through university there, but I did see how now we had a democratization of information. For the first time ever, you could have information that was being transported globally, and the radical change that inspired in many different types of industries, from printing to email to communications, all these different things to self-publication started to emerge, where there was now a democratization of information that the internet brought about. And that too was something that I understood. I remember seeing the first browser and seeing how that was working, and now not needing to connect to one computer through modems, you could actually have a website that people can go and multiple people could do, because before that, we would make a phone call and we'd have to connect to one computer, and if someone was on it, you would get a busy signal and you wouldn't be able to actually connect. It was very rudimentary, and this kind of really opened the doors to the democratization of information.